This episode is titled Mudslide. It came out on September 15th, 1993, directed by Eric Radomski, written by Steve Perry, story by Alan Burnett, and animation by Studio Junio. Featuring Kevin Conroy as Batman, Efren Zimbalist Jr. as Alfred and the security guard, Rob Clotworthy as Billy the security guard, Marcia Wallace as Fiancé, Pat Music as Stella Bates and Susan, and Ron Perlman as Clayface.
And Yosemite Sam as...
It's not Yosemite, it's Yosemite. I know I said it wrong in the last episode. I'm sorry. All right, honorable mentions here. Studio Junio animated this episode, and they previously produced the episodes that we reviewed, which were The Underdwellers and Dreams in Darkness. So not many for Studio Junio. But what did you think of the animation their third time around in this show?
I thought it was great. I mean, all the Clayface movement is great. The only thing was that suddenly, out of nowhere, the heavens opened up whilst I was watching this episode. So for a while, I couldn't see shit because like the lights were just coming in, and it's a really dark episode. So I just had to like focus on Clayface for a little while. Like, oh, okay, I think I know what's going on over here. My fat ass is not getting off the sofa and close the curtains. I was literally just sitting on the sofa like, what's going on?
You were as slow and lazy as Clayface in this. The way he was moving in this, I could picture you, like, when you pull your back, being helped into bed by your wife, the way Stella helps him.
Yeah, I need that mold thing to like push all my blood back into place and turn me into a smooth man.
Stella.
I thought the animation was really good. I loved the perspectives and the shot choices, like especially when he's in the Batmobile and it's the POV of him driving. I thought that looked really good.
Excellent timing, Master Bruce. I've just taken dinner out of the oven.
Not very safe to talk to Alfred whilst on video chat though and driving. I was like, that's breaking the law, Batman.
He's like, just video chat doesn't even exist yet. It's fine. There's no laws for it.
Also, there's just no one on the streets. Like, there's so many great backgrounds in this episode, but there's just no one in Gotham at all. The bridges are empty, streets are empty. The subway was empty except for the one cart that they're in.
Love that. That's a great scene.
It is a great scene. Yeah, that subway scene is awesome. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, the thing that just bugs me is there's never people in Gotham in this show. And there was a weird moment in the animation as well, because when Batman and Clayface are falling off the cliff at the end, Batman like throws a batarang with a rope and like obviously pulls himself to safety. And as he pulls himself, you see Clayface just like fall past him. And there's like a good 2 seconds where Batman's just like correcting himself. And suddenly Clayface's arm just kind of loops around Batman's foot. And I was like, that dude is already in the sea by now. Like, that pacing of it was really strange. Like, it was almost like Clayface had stopped in midair.
I think I can still make it. Just pull a little harder. My feet have washed away, but I'll make new ones. It's fine.
Director Eric Radomski has been credited previously in our review of If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? And writer Steve Perry has been credited previously in our review of Night of the Ninja. And finally, story developer Alan Burnett has been credited previously in Two-Face Part 1. So you can go back and listen to all those episodes to learn more about their careers, as well as Alan Burnett being a reoccurring guest on this podcast as well. Acting creds here. All returning voice actors have been credited previously on the pod in their first appearance on the show, such as Ron Perlman in POV, and Pat Music, who plays Stella. She played the flight attendant in Terror in the Sky, so we've already given her creds as well. As far as new acting creds go, Rob Clotworthy, who plays Billy the security guard, will go on to play a pilot in the new Batman Adventures episode The Ultimate Thrill. He's also known as the voice of Jim Raynor in StarCraft. He also narrated the 2008 documentary Batman Unmasked, and had a prominent voice role as an off-screen television announcer in 2.5 Men. Never watched that show, did you?
I didn't like it. It just never made me
not
laugh.
Your thing.
No.
And finally, Marcia Wallace. Marcia Wallace doesn't like to get fucked. Marcia Wallace. You know what I'm referencing there, right?
Yes, of course I do.
Okay. You just didn't react, so anyone that's listening
I just wasn't
was
expecting it, that's all.
And then we got Marcia Wallace, who plays the fiancée, is also well known for being the voice of Simpsons character Edna Krabappel.
Who's Edna Krabappel again? Simpsons.
She's the teacher. She's Bart's teacher.
Oh, okay.
So Marcia Wallace, who plays the fiance, who's got a very brief role. She's in the movie that Matt Hagen's in. She plays the fiance. That is Edna Krabappel.
Cool.
Oh, darling, how wonderful. Let's get married right away.
All right, utility belt of fun facts here. According to Bruce Timm, the reason they did not use Clayface much is because he was too expensive to animate, as well as too difficult to come up with a good story for.
Well, you know what? Both stories have been really good because I enjoyed this episode.
I enjoyed this episode. I will say my biggest problem with this episode is Batman interferes with Clayface's plan, and that's obviously why he doesn't get cured. If Batman just let Clayface do his thing, Clayface would have cured himself.
Yeah.
And it would have been fine.
Yeah, at the beginning, he's like, please let me help cure you.
Yeah.
Which he's probably like, I have stuff at Wayne Tech that can, like, put you back together and really solve it. He's
Which
like,
is what he steals anyway.
That's what I mean, but he's like, you stole it from me. I want the credit that I put you back together. Not this lady, Jesus Christ.
He definitely wanted the credit, didn't he?
Yeah,
he wanted to be the one who's like, I cured Clayface.
Hey, Bruce Wayne, a Batman.
It's working! No!
Batman! No! Turn it back on!
Okay, back to our utility belt of fun facts. Eric Radomski came up with the idea of this episode due to the fans demanding another Clayface episode after the success of Clayface or Feet of Clay Parts 1 and 2. In the comics, the third Clayface, Preston Payne, had to wear an exoskeleton suit to contain his collapsing flesh, so they obviously took from that. That suit that he wears, he's a human sausage in that thing. He's just a big ball of, like, muddy, meaty flesh that's just, like, packed in by this, like, thin exoskeleton, like capsule. Like, you know what I mean?
I love that she gives him, like, a little kiss on his head as well.
My little sausage. Mwah.
Here's my cute little sausage.
It's okay now, Matthew. Sleep, my darling.
I wonder what, like, is it like a hard shell? Is it like soft? Like if I poke him, will he be like?
I thought he was like a waterbed in that thing at first too. I also thought that thing's got to be so squeaky moving around in it. Like, it looks plastic, and you could probably hear him moving around. But then at the end, he breaks out, and it's like a hard shell. It breaks like I don't know, if you dropped a vase or something.
Well, I mean, Clayface slips into the Spider-Man villain in this episode. A guy doing crime to solve the problems in his life. That's like the classic Spider-Man trope. But also, what I loved about this episode that really felt like the Universal Monsters. And speaking of which, Mobster Mash is live on Kickstarter, so you better want to check it out. But the Universal Monsters, they're always like, they go through a traumatic event that sort of makes society end up rejecting them. And that's exactly what Clayface is here. He's been through this like body transformation thing where he can no longer be a regular member of society.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That's definitely a Spider-Man trope, movie monster villain trope as well. It's Frankenstein. I mean, even the lab looked like Frankenstein's lab in this, you know, and it was like a lab on top of a hill, and there was a thunderstorm outside. You know,
but it's not just Frankenstein. Like the Wolfman, he can't be part of society because he turns into this wolf every month. Invisible Man as well. Like they're all like that. Except for Dracula, that's just like, I'm gonna eat society. Fuck you guys. He's like the only one that doesn't work. But that's why my favorite scene of this whole thing was him on the train. It felt so like EC Comics horror, just like a guy, you know, a woman like just slowly turning into like a monster, and then everyone running away, and him being like, "Yeah, run away!" Like you know, like rejecting society and stuff. Like, it was great and scary animation as well of it. Of that woman just like looking in the reflection and melting away.
Yeah, that was my favorite scene of the whole episode, especially when he slaps his head on the glass of the train, and it just like splats, and it with the sound effect there was so good.
And you see like at the roof of his mouth, his teeth and everything. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. The other scene I really enjoyed that was dark as hell, but I loved it, was when he was drowning Batman inside his body at the end.
Yeah, that was sick.
That was so good. The way he was like, I can feel his heartbeat slowing. I was like, damn, Clayface, that is some twisted, dark shit. And I'm here for it. Like, I love
me
that.
too.
Is he?
Almost. I can feel his heart slowing.
Yeah, love Ron Perlman in this. I just don't like when he suddenly starts like using actor puns, you know? Like it was like, looks like it's curtains for this guy or whatever he says like at the end. I was like, oh mate, come on.
Curtains going down. You're like,
Yeah.
oh. But I mean, when he died in Feet of Clay Part 2, he's like, do you know what I would have given for a death scene like this? That's the level I like, where I was like,
yeah.
that's
And
an
also
actor.
that story plays more into we know he's an actor. This one, not so much, you know?
Yeah, I agree. So more fun facts. Stella's surname Bates is an obvious homage to Norman Bates. Batman even mentions she once owned a motel in the past. You catch
I
that?
must have missed that. No.
Yeah. When Clayface is placed in the support suit that gives him structure, he looks very similar to an Oscar statuette, which I thought was a fun little nod. And towards the end, Clayface yells, Stella! Akin to Marlon Brando's Stanley Kowalski in A Streetcar Named Desire. You catch that one?
I remember seeing that movie in like an English class, and like I'm a cinephile, but I remember being pretty bored in that movie. But I saw it when I was like 13, so maybe it'd be different now. I don't know.
I mean, there was lots of little nods to like old movies in this. Even the movie The Dark Interlude, which was the like hospital drama that they were watching that Matt Hagen was in, has a plot very similar to that of Dark Victory, which came out in 1939. Which, when I first saw Dark Victory, I was like, the sequel to Long Halloween?
Yeah, exactly. I also felt that the location of like their lab with all the windows like up on a hill was very Hitchcock North by Northwest to me as well, of that like final place they're in. So
yeah,
I just like I love like especially about doing the show is when we had Alan Burnett on the show, he really opened my eyes to how much Hitchcock influences in Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah,
and you and I are both ingested Hitchcock over the years. We've seen classics, Psycho, Buzz. You love Rear Window. That's probably your favorite one.
Yeah,
I love Rope, but I never like took a deep dive into his full back catalog. I've seen a majority of them, but not like the whole spectrum. And now, after chatting to him, I've done that, and you've been doing it as well. And it's like, oh my god, like you could see it from a mile away, and like
plain as day. Yeah,
and I was like, what a good fucking vibe to take to stick into Batman, right? Like it just works
absolutely
so well. And I never would have done that without being on this show. So that's probably my favorite thing about being involved in Batman the Animated Series podcast, is it made me a bigger Alfred Hitchcock fan.
I'm sure Alan Burnett would be very happy to hear that, especially because he developed the story for this episode. So it's clear that, you know, he put his Hitchcock love into the themes of this episode.
He put his Hitchcock right in it.
Whoopsie.
That's it. His movies.
Master Bruce?
No time to explain now, Alfred.
There never is.
Okay, so yeah, moving on then to our review. What did you think of this episode?
I really liked it. I thought it was a solid episode. I really like Clayface. I really love Ron Perlman as Clayface. I don't know why. I like that he's a sympathetic villain. I thought Batman was like a bit of a lazy Batman in this episode.
Yeah.
Because like when he's like walking off to Clayface, you know, obviously he's like, oh, you're slowing down. And then what? A lady pulls up in a car and that's what stops you? Like you're like some person in the car like drives in front of you and you're like, whoa, get in. And then she drives away and he's like, not going to follow that one up. I'm just going to let them go because I don't know if you know this, but Alfred cooked a whole goose and he's, that's a special occasion, that goose. And I know he's eating the good bits right now and I don't want to miss out on the good bits.
Well, not only was he as slow as Clayface in this, but just the fact that he interfered and he had to like sabotage Clayface's plan, even though if he just left him alone, he literally could have just been like, all right, I'll just let Clayface cure himself. And that's one less person in Gotham City that I have to deal with.
That's true. And also, on the train, Clayface very smartly jumps out the window when he's being frozen and falls into a truck. And then Batman just watches him as he goes past in the train with a whole broken window. I'm like, dude, you're fucking Batman. Jump out of the window. Like, put your cape up, glide down. You can fucking follow his ass.
You know what? After Sid the Squid almost killed me, I'm just not going to risk it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Little trepid with the Batmaning these days. That's why I was doing my paroling in the Bat car recently. Bat car. Batmobile.
It's been a long week.
I kind of like Bat car, though, you know? Hey, I'm Batman, Bat car, you know, it works. No? Alfred, are you there? Is the goose ready yet?
He was doing a lot of I'll just study this big pile of muddy, steamy goo. Which, by the way, when Clayface is like falling apart, I was like, that like when I'm ill, which I currently have a cold, but when I'm really ill, I was like, that's what's coming out. Like it was hot and he just looked sticky and he's smelly. I was like, I think he smells. You know what I mean? Like
I never thought about Clayface smelling. Oh, did you smell Clayface? He fucking stinks. Oh.
It looked like someone had like a shit all over the bins in the street, and he was just like, you know what? I'm gonna take this home and study it. I'm like, why not just look at the license plate of the car that just took him away?
That would be awful. A big piece of poo that like morphs into people. You would never get me. If it was the same scenario, it'd be like, "Hey, I'm just gonna go up the elevator." I'd be like, "Okay." Oh, what the fuck is that? Did you just have a shit? Yeah, big shit. Oh, was that you? Oh, it stinks.
Yep, me, Billy, the security guard. Nothing to see here.
Billy, you're covered in flies. Yep. Yep, just had a huge shit. Oh my God, do not go in there.
At one point, Clayface jumps out the window, and I thought it'd be so funny if there was someone walking along the street and he lands on them. Like, imagine being in that situation. I'd be like, "What is this, poo?" Like,
yeah, imagine if he was Poo Face in that scenario. Just go walking down, and you're like, boom, like, oh!
Covered in head to toe.
I just got covered in shit. That's ruined my day.
And then he crawls into Stella's car, and I was like, she's never getting those stains out that back seat, you know?
Oh, you stink, Poo Face.
He definitely smells. You can see the steam coming off of the stuff.
I love the idea that Clayface just stinking. That's so funny to me.
He's not trying to cure himself. He's trying to get rid of the smell. That's what he's trying to do. He's like, my body odor is just, you don't want to know. Like, trust me, it stinks.
Oh, we know. We can smell it.
When Batman sprays him with that free spray in the train, it's actually just air freshener he stole from Alfred.
My only weakness. Just the idea of the security guard being like, the fuck is that smell? He's like, yeah, I know, right? It stinks. Oh. Is that you? What, me?
He tries to reverse it, like reverse blame.
Buddy, I think it's you.
As flies are like sticking to it.
I guess my pits smell. Oh, a little bit. They reek, bud. Oh. God, you shit yourself?
Yeah, he's just melting. He's like, I can see that you're covered in shit.
You used to be faster, Hagen. Not to mention neater.
So I thought the intro was great. I love the security guard disguised. We know it's Clayface in this episode, but maybe as your kid, you don't know it's going to be Clayface, but you got his music playing to kind of like tease.
Oh. And the music, bud. Come on, let's talk about that. I mean,
yeah,
the Clayface theme, I think, is one of the best Batman the Animated Series themes there is.
Totally agree. Yeah, absolutely. And the variations in this episode in particular, I really enjoyed because they have this like, they have this point where the violins go like really dark, like as he's like drowning Batman inside of him. There's this dark, like just the strings, and which is very Bernard Herrmann, obviously Hitchcock attached. And I was like, that is just some great composed music.
And just like it brings all the emotional levels out as well. Like when he's hanging off the cliff with the "I'm Clayface," like it all is just really, it's just great. So good job, Shirley. You kicked butt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too late. Curtains going down. Hagen!
So I also really liked the whole Stella relationship with Clayface, and that she's just like an obsessed fan that obviously is attached to him that way, and she's in love with the idea of what Matt Hagen is on screen, not who he actually is.
See, like that Friends thing with Joey when he has that girlfriend that is in love with she's in love with Drake Malroy.
Yeah, one more.
Drake Malroy.
Jason Momoa.
Well, everyone's in love with Jason Momoa.
But what I will say is that what I enjoyed, because I know this now, because director Kevin Autieri, who did Feet of Clay Part 2 when he came on the show, has said to us that Matt Hagen is gay. Like, the intention always was that he's a gay character, and that Teddy, his very close friend and assistant in Feet of Clay Part 1 and 2, was actually his boyfriend or lover or whatever label they put on it. So obviously 90s cartoon, they can't just come out and say that, different time back then, but I love that they obviously had that implied there. So when I was watching this episode and they were talking about his connections to women in the past, because they were trying to look up who Stella was, like, who is she, how is she connected? Alfred says he's had no relationships of note with women. The only women that he's associated himself with are women of a certain level of intelligence or something along those lines, like basically implying stupid people. And I was like, that's a really interesting thing to say. But then I realized that probably what maybe the intention was there, what I thought would be cool, is that he's surrounding himself with people that aren't smart enough to see that he's gay, right? That's what I took as the implication. Which means he was disguising himself before he even became Clayface. He was disguising who he actually was.
A true actor.
A true actor, yeah.
A social actor.
So I thought that was really cool, if that was an intentional thing or not, but that's what I took out of this episode. Knowing that he's gay, I wanted to see if, that thread continued, and I feel like it kind of did, which I thought was really cool.
The ladies, Mr. Hagen, you were generally of a less intellectual class?
We're missing something.
So moving on to other scenes then with this episode, I thought that there was very Terminator 2 vibes. Obviously, it only come out a few years before this episode, maybe even a year before this episode started to be written and made. But there was just, when he was the doctor and he went through that crack in the lab door.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah.
That's very T-1000 in the asylum. And also in T2 when he's frozen and he breaks into pieces and the pieces melt, they form back together. That's what Clayface did as well. So I was like, whether that's intentional or not, that was just cool to watch. Like, I love that. So my Love That Batman moment is when he bursts out of Clayface with the back grapple. I just thought that was such a cool, especially because you think like, oh shit, is Batman dying? Because his heart's slowing down. And then just his music plays.
He's trained for it, bud. He's trained for this.
That's
Maybe
what I
not
thought.
The exact scenario, but something like it.
Yeah, that's what I thought, is that he was intentionally slowing his heart down to make Clayface obviously think. Because he was like, I can't get out of this unless, I'd make him think that he can relax. And maybe that was enough for him to shoot the grapple out of him.
Batman's like, it fucking stinks. Oh my God.
He's literally in the shit. Like, he's in the thick of it.
I'm in the shit, Alfred. Use your grappling, sir.
Alfred also was so on point in this episode with his jokes, and I loved that. But Batman didn't seem to want to like play along. Like when he's like, I wasn't aware that he had any integrity to begin with. And he's like, I'm talking on a physiological level, Alfred. And it's like, Alfred knows that. He's just bringing some fun. Yeah.
The jokes right over your pointy horns.
And also, perhaps she enjoys mud baths. I thought that was great as well. Like
That was a good line. Yeah.
yeah. And Batman wasn't picking up any of those jokes. I was like, come on, buddy. He's laying out some gold here. Like, pick it up.
I'm laughing internally. If I actually bust out laughing, I'll never hear the fucking end of it. Oh my god.
I'm still not over Sid the Squid. I'm still not over missing the goose. There's a lot. No, I'm
I saw Mr. Freeze's Tight 5 recently, and it was not tight. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, Alfred had a Type 5 in this episode, that's for sure.
I'm more observational, coming as it comes. Coming as it comes. That's me.
I'm mudsliding into those DMs, baby.
And that woman helping him. What's her stake in this?
Perhaps she enjoys mud baths.
So yeah, at the end, Clayface can't hold himself together. I love how Batman even says to him, he's like, pull yourself together. And I was like, are you now making jokes,
Alfred's
Batman?
like, come on.
Good one, sir.
Yeah. Very funny.
So yeah, Clayface falls to his supposed death as he dissolves into the sea, and Batman confronts a distraught Stella in the rain as Clayface's sad music plays, and that's the end of the episode. And the fact that he fell into the water at the end and disintegrated, I was like, I hope that's not drinking
Sewage water, yeah.
I thought it was, as you said, I thought it was a good, solid episode. Solid, not very solid on Clayface, huh? But yeah, I thought it was very good. I thought the animation was great. And I thought, even though you could poke holes in the story where Batman left him alone, then it would have been fine. It was still a good story for Clayface, I thought. It was.
Yeah, I agree.
So we are not going to see Clayface now for a while. In fact, that is the last time we see him in Batman the Animated Series.
Wow. What, until he's redesigned in that Christmas episode?
That's correct. Yep. That's the next time we'll see him. So that's a ways away. So he was dead, technically. I think maybe the intention was, well, we can't write for him and he's too expensive to animate, so let's kill him. You know?
Kind of like Hydro Man for a little while and
yeah.
Spidey, right? Melting away like that.
That's right. Yeah, they didn't use him much, probably for the same reasons.
He's evaporating. Does this mean he's...
Not necessarily.
Okay, so we go on to our top three now. Top three episodes that we have are Almost Got 'Em, Joker's Favor, The Laughing Fish. Does this make your top three?
No.
I agree. It's a very good episode, but definitely doesn't replace any of those. Ranking out of 10 then, what would you give this out of 10?
I'd give it a 7.7 out of 10.
I gave it an 8.5. Here we go with maths. It's everyone's
3.5.
favorite.
It's 3.5 is the difference. So it's 8.05. Yeah.
Okay, 8.05. Well done. Very good. And then Fit Check, everybody's favorite segment.
Wait. Did you say it's 8.5?
Oh my god, why do you always do this?
Did you say 8.5?
Yes.
6, 7, 8. Oh my god, it's just a 0.4 difference. So 8.1.
Right, 8.1. Okay.
God,
Cool.
I'm embarrassed by my terrible maths on this show.
You learned a lot about Alfred Hitchcock, but not about maths.
That's right.
All right, Fit Check, everyone's favorite segment here. Clayface wears a Plastic Man suit, so that's a different outfit for him, along with all of the people that he impersonated, so I'm not going to list all of that. Bruce rocks his yellow shirt with no jacket and no tie in his office, so I thought that was a kind of a relaxed look for Bruce. And that's pretty much it, besides Matt Hagen wearing a doctor's outfit in the movie that he was in. That's our Fit Check. Are you happy that I listed that? Do you feel like you know the episode more now?
What?
Gave me a bunch of crap about me not listening to her enough or something. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention.
Okay, so our next episode, we're going to have a special guest on. We're actually, if all goes well, we're going to have the voice of Bishop in X-Men 97. Isaac Robinson Smith is going to come on the show. He reached out to us a few weeks ago and actually was the reason that we got in touch with Paul Dini. But along with that, in his own right, The dude is a voice actor in one of the biggest shows right now, and he loves Batman the Animated
I
Series.
still got to finish that show. I've only watched like 4 episodes.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Well, you'll have time because we're going to take a week break because Will and I are going away on holiday. So we are going to have a week off. And when we come back, we will come back with Isaac Robertson Smith to talk about his love for Batman the Animated Series, how he got on X-Men, and just his career in general, and just have a good old chat about the best cartoon out there, or some of the best cartoons out there. So we'll see you next time for that.
Talk about the 90s, baby.
Yeah, I'm sure probably we'll talk about. I'm sure he's probably.
Hey, remember the 90s? Pretty cool, right? AOL, Instant Messenger, The Sims one, Roller Coaster Tycoon, Razor Scooters, I2K, SmackDown.
He's still going?
Take me back.
The Lost World toys.
Oh, the Lost World trading cards. Mio mamma mia.
So yeah, come back next time. We'll be talking about all of those things, maybe if he remembers them. Otherwise, definitely X-Men and definitely Batman the Animated Series. See you then.